What's going on, everybody? West Coast Roller here. Wanted to make a video talking about my road trip down to Northern California. So the title of this video is going to be Road Trip Reflections. What did I learn on going down to Northern California? So yeah, it was a good trip to get started and get a little bit of experience out there in the field camping with the truck camper. And also, it was good to get out of my comfort zone a little bit by being down south. And it's not like it's not like I was in the inner city or something like that trying to camp with the camper. I mean, I was in Northern California in some pretty remote areas. But it was just really good to get out, and that was pretty much like the second trip that I took out with it. The first trip, I left Washington, and then I went into central eastern Oregon, and then I made my way to the coast. But anyways, yeah, this trip was a good one to just kind of to get out and test some more things out, and also to, when I did this little road trip, I didn't do a lot of planning, okay? And I kind of did that for a reason, because I just wanted to see how everything would unfold, all right? And what were going to be some of the challenges that would arise from just hitting the road and experiencing it fully. So there are a couple of things that I definitely needed to be better prepared on. And the first one that comes to mind is just water. And I had ran out of water when I was up on the Bigfoot Highway. And, well, actually, let me back up a little bit. I didn't run out of water. At one of the dump stations that I dumped at, the water was turned off. So I didn't have a way of filling up. And this was at a rest area off of way up there in the sticks in Northern California. So that was a little bit of that posed a real challenge. So basically, no water. So I mean, I always carry drinking water with me, and in my survival backpack I have a water purification kit. But that's going to be for extreme situations where I'm out of water, so I don't really want to get to that point. It's one thing if I'm up in the woods backpacking on a trip, but being out here on leisure with luxuries, I don't want to have to go to those extremes. So I had water. I wasn't able to they had water shut off. So that was a problem. And so what I learned is that if I'm going to be up there, if I'm going to be up in the national forests and being in remote areas like I was, I need to have a plan to get my own water. So that would be a person on YouTube, 2012 Escapee 1. She's got a great video that she did talking about. She has a kit that she uses to get water from a creek or a stream. So I need to implement something like that if I'm going to be up there in those areas where I were. So that's definitely something that I need to get figured out. So the water situation, that brings me to the next one, was dump stations. And in a lot of these, where I was, I have Sprint service, Sprint cell phone coverage, and so I wasn't able to get any data, up there where I was. So one of the things that I learned is if I'm going to be taking a trip, I need to get a hard copy map out, and I need to write down where all of the dump stations are and water refilling stations are on a map in the geographic area of where I'm going to be. And that would really just bring a lot of comfort and less hassle, knowing where I need to be. And I did make some notes about some places where I could dump. Like in one of the videos I did, I was way up there in the National Forest, and there was this little campground out in the middle of nowhere that had an area where I could dump. So I did make a mental note of that. And that's another little important tip I learned too, is, when you're out on these trips like this, make a note, keep a journal, and write these things down. And then on your map, you can make some notes on your map. So for a future reference, you'll be able to remember and return to where that was. So definitely, yeah, using maps, locating where dump stations are prior to your departure on your trip, that is a really, really, really important one. There's nothing worse than having your black tank full and nowhere to dump it. The gray tank, that can be disposed a little more liberally out there in a wide range of places, but the black tank is definitely an issue. It just means that, hey, you're gonna have to grab a shovel and do your thing outside, and that's not the worst thing in the world. And up in the National Forest, I probably would prefer to do those things outside than doing it in the camper and with those luxuries. Okay, let's talk about data service. Clearly, you need to have some good maps of where you are and where you're going, because you're not going to have data. Another solution to that is to do this is the one thing I'm going to be looking into. There's a website, it's called freecampsites.net, and they've got a downloadable version that you can buy. It's like $7. And then you could download that to a tablet or some app or whatever, so that you can pull up this information. You don't need data to get the information. So that was the other really important lesson, is you can't rely on data anywhere. So you need to have maps, and this is where pre-planning your trip comes into play. And hey, let's face it, I enjoy just going out there and free birding it, and just going wherever the hell I want, whatever the hell I want to go, and not having a master plan, a master operandi of where I'm going to be and what time. And a lot of times I just don't like doing that. I like to just go out there and just be free and roam where I choose to roam. So I've talked about the data, talked about water. Another thing that comes to mind, I was up there on Highway 96 up in Northern California, and it's been also known as Bigfoot Highway. Just an awesome road, and I did really well with the truck camper. If I had a trailer or a fifth wheel or even a Class A, would be just cutting it on those roads. But a lot of very windy road, and but very remote. And if you ran into a problem up there, you wouldn't be able to call anybody. You basically have to flag somebody down on the side of the road. So I've never really found myself in that remote of a situation. I mean, it is very remote up there. I mean, there's lots of Indian reservations up there. I drove right through them, and there are some services up there. But there were very few cars on the road. And it was if you think about the worst case scenario from a security perspective, perfect situation for a hijacking to happen, where a couple of outlaws, they pull out their machine guns and they basically just take over your rig, and they leave you stranded on the side of the road, sucking your thumb naked or something like that. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. But it would up there. I mean, that's just kind of the worst case situation. But when you're up in a remote like that, you definitely need to, and you're by yourself, okay, and I was by myself, you really need to be, you need to be prepared. And I was prepared. I had everything that I needed, and I have measures that I take for security, for the worst case type of security. I'm prepared on that front. But having a major breakdown with your rig, that could definitely really suck. I mean, it could really suck. I mean, granted, you've got a place. If your rig did break down, you've got your RV, your camper. You can camp and set up shop. But the problem is you just don't have any communication. And then so in order to get communication, you're going to have to hitchhike with somebody to some area where you can get help. And so that was one thing that I really honestly I didn't like. It was I was up there in February, so there was hardly anybody up there. And but anyways, one little kind of thing. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of the people up there, there are a lot of people that live up there, and I'm sure everybody's very helpful with one another, for helping people out on the side of the road. Like I was up there about 10 o'clock at night looking for a campsite, and I pulled off the road, and I was in the process of turning around, and another car had drove by, and then there was a little turn. It was a little pull off ahead, and they had pulled out and stopped, and I'm sitting here going, okay, so why do they just pull off the road, and just weird things like that. When you're up there by yourself, there's nobody out there, the hair on the back of your neck can raise up, and you can just be very suspicious of everything. So anyways, I think I've kind of beat that to death. The security issue, you've just got to really be, you've got to take it serious, because when you don't have any communication, here, let me speak. Okay, I'm glad that I brought that up. Communications. Having a CB radio or another type of communication device where you can communicate, handheld radios, that right there is really important. So I'm glad that I remembered that. Okay, so having like a CB radio or a handheld radio communications would be really would serve you well in a bad situation up there. So let's see, what else can I? Some other reflections that I have. For the most part, I was pretty prepared. I was happy with what I had. I didn't have any inch of problems with the truck or the camper. Everything went well, and it was just absolutely gorgeous area. And I am definitely going to be returning up there. I mean, it was just phenomenal. I mean, the whole stretch of road. We're talking like it's 250, 300 miles. We're talking a lot of miles, guys. I spent a whole day driving up there, and so it's just it's a really awesome area. I did not see Bigfoot up there. I was looking. I was definitely looking. I don't know if I'm kind of one of these people where I never rule anything out. Like, I never rule out the possibility of anything. I mean, it's always, I think that there's a possibility that Bigfoot, exists. I mean, they are, and there's also the possibility that it's an entire hoax, and that, it's just people making stuff up, and so I don't know. I've watched a lot of conspiracy theories on the Bigfoot, and I've found some rather fascinating things. But the one thing that you find in all of these cases and stories is there's just no real hard evidence, facts. I mean, that they don't really have anything. I mean, that they can really go off of. And that's just something that I've witnessed. With the Bigfoot. But I think it's really cool. The whole thing. So I hope to return to that area again. There's just so much to cover in Northern California. I went through the redwoods. I drove to the redwoods, and there I still didn't get to see half of what I wanted to see. But just the roads and the bridges, and I mean, it was just really, really fascinating. I just couldn't believe it. And then there's also the other side. There's the eastern side of Northern California, more in the Shasta Wilderness area. And from my understanding, there's a lot of wilderness to explore in that area also. So that's all I've got, guys, for this one. If you have any questions pertaining to the trip, please comment below. And if you have any suggestions, if you have any stories that you would like to talk about in reference to anything that I've spoken about on this video, please do a video response or comment below and let us all know. We'd love to hear some of your experiences and your stories and how you learn to be better prepared for your next adventure. Until next time, guys, we'll talk to you later. Have an awesome day.